Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne Casdia. Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower you to fulfill a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. Welcome to the show. I hope you're having a really great day. I am Coach Lorianne. I'm a transformational success coach, a #1 international best-selling author, an award-winning inspirational speaker, and a humanitarian, and I'm so excited to have you all here. Today on Healthy Lifestyle, we're going to give you some verbal caffeine and light you up with possibilities with our guest today, Kevin Roth. He's known as an internationally known dulcimer player, singer, songwriter. He's a life coach, a recording artist. He's a superstar, quite frankly, and we're honored to have him here. His recording career began in 1974 with the prestigious folk music label Folkways Records, which is Smithsonian, where he recorded 14 albums. You can find him on every platform available, and he is also an author of the book Between the Notes. You can find that on Amazon. He started recording award-winning children's music on his own label. He sang the theme song, get this, for the hit PBS television show Shining Time Station, and composed and performed several music videos, gaining millions of fans worldwide. And Kevin has recorded 51, yes, I'm not joking, 51 albums of dulcimer music, including Dulcimeditation, which we're going to talk about because all of you know that I'm a Kundalini meditative practitioner. So he and I have a lot to talk about, and he has performed around the world and won numerous awards, and I could go on and on and on. And it goes even deeper than this, but we're going to invite him in. Kevin, thank you so much for being here, Kevin Roth.
Well, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
So happy to have you here. So, oh my goodness, you have quite the story, Kevin. You went through a lot of changes, and you had all of this success and did all of this music, and really was out there a successful performing artist, won all kinds of awards. And then what happens?
Well, and I still have a music career, but I kind of burned out from touring and recording around 1998, and I took a break and then gradually went back to it. But in 2013, on a routine dermatology appointment, they discovered that I had melanoma. And then, to make a long story short, they then told me I had stage 3 melanoma, and although they removed it, there is no real cure for it, and they thought that it would return within a year and I'd be dead within 2. So that was 2015, and it never came back, and here I am. So I moved, yeah, then I changed my life, which we'll talk about, and eventually became a life coach, and continue to be a musician.
Yeah, I'm going to circle back to that. But right now, I just tell us about your music career because it's so interesting. Our listeners would love to hear about this.
Well, I grew up playing the piano by ear, and then when I was 13, I saw an instrument called the mountain dulcimer, and I just loved it, and I started to play it, and then got this notion that I wanted to become rich and famous like my folk heroes, like Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Pete Seeger, and Joni Mitchell.
Sure.
And I had the audacity to think that I was good enough, and I sent a tape to a folk music label called Folkways, and they thought that I had a lot of talent, and they signed me, and I spent 10 years, a decade, recording different dulcimer albums for them and playing concerts and festivals and things like that. And the dulcimer was just becoming popular in the 70s, so I was riding the wave. If you went out to buy a dulcimer album, mine was one of the handful or two that were available. So I was sort of right in the right spot at the right time, as they say.
Yes, well, universe, God, source, however you refer to higher power, had you in the right space at the right time. So it wasn't luck in any way, shape, or form. It was exactly where you were supposed to be. So help our listeners understand what a dulcimer is, because a lot of people don't know what a dulcimer is. Both of my parents were musicians, so when you said it, I was like, why does that sound familiar? And then you reminded me.
So you can actually see pictures of the dulcimer on my website, kevinroth.org, or you can Google mountain dulcimer. But it's basically a lap string instrument with 3 or 4 strings, and it comes from the Appalachian Mountains. And they're very traditional folk players, and then they're very innovative newer players like myself. It's very sweet sounding. It sounds a cross between a guitar and a harp.
Yeah, yeah. I always liken it to a harp. Yeah, it's such a beautiful, almost angelic sound. So it's no wonder you were brought to that. And obviously, when you were diagnosed with stage 3 of melanoma, it changed your life. Did it change your perspective? Because we talk about mindset here on Healthy Lifestyle a lot. Did it change your perspective?
Yeah, as I tell people and I tell my clients, there's nothing like a death sentence to wake you up.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of ask myself what caused the cancer because I didn't believe it was just sun exposure, although that contributed. And I had been very stressed out for many years. And I had at the time put on a lot of weight and gone through a lot of drama. And I believe that all of those things created it because stress and inflammation is one of the leading causes of cancer.
Yes.
So I had to say, if you want to live, you have to either get busy living or get busy dying. So you can either change your life or not. And I decided to change it, which required me to ask myself 3 questions, which is what the book Between the Notes is about. And first question is, what really matters?
Ask you, what are the 3 questions?
Yeah, what really matters? Why does that matter? And then what are you going to do about it?
So it's
So
what really matters.
why does it matter?
Why
Yeah.
does it matter? And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. So for me, it was my music, my art, my dog, and getting out of Kansas. And why is because I wanted to create an authentic life of, now people call me sort of like a bohemian. And I saw that happening in Southern California at San Diego. And I wanted it bad enough that I created a way to make it happen. And that was my game plan. And within 6 months, I packed my bags and drove out to San Diego and never left.
Yeah, so I love that you, just to reframe it a little, I love it that you assessed your life. You asked yourself those 3 questions, which set up what you really wanted. So infrequently are we asked, what do you want? What do you want? And it's a question we don't generally ask ourselves. And I love that. Why does it matter? And what are you going to do about it? Right. So it sets a goal. And once we have a goal and it's clear, we know exactly the steps that we're going to take. I think where the wishy-wash comes in people's lives is in between the actual setting the goals. It's the I wish, I wish, I wish, which doesn't really do anything. It's actually understand what you want. And we don't understand what we want until we understand what we don't want. You no longer wanted the stress. You didn't want a life that you were living in the past and previously. You wanted to change that. So now you knew what you did want. And the clarity, didn't that help you progress and help you redesign your life?
Yeah, and the first question I ask new clients when they come to me is, what don't you want in your life anymore? Not what do you want, what don't you want?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know. But you hear things like, I don't want to be in debt, I'm in a toxic relationship, the kids are gone and I don't know who I am anymore, or I've gotten into, or whatever the situation is. You don't have to stay there. Because when we believe our negative thinking, we suffer.
Sure.
And 9 times out of 10, those thoughts aren't even real. So one of the things that I developed for myself was the system of asking myself when sort of the shit hits the fan, so to speak, how big a deal is this? I know it's an inconvenience. You got a flat tire on the road and you didn't renew your AAA membership, but is the world going to end? Do you need to get angry at this? Is this, So everything comes and goes. And so there are tools that I use to get through everything. And they're from eating to exercising different things, dulcimeditation, because I don't allow stress and anger to hang out very long in my head.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because it's a spiral, right? So you have to stop the momentum as quickly as possible to stay in that positive realm.
Yeah, but first you need what I call mindful awareness. You need to know that you're aggravated. Most people
Right.
don't even know it. And
Right.
then you say, okay, so this is a problem. What's the most efficient way to handle it? And how big a deal do I want to make of this?
Yes. Yes, yes. Everything starts with awareness. And we've been talking about that the last few shows is it starts with being aware. Until you're aware, you don't have any ground to know where you're starting from, right? What it is that's bothering you. You have to really take a look at it. And a lot of time we just push through. We don't even look at it, and then it mounds up. I know from my own past, I used to let it just mound up and I would push it into the closet and push it into the closet, but eventually the door had to come screaming open and everything piled on. And
Yeah.
that's when you have an opportunity for great change. When you have great tragedy, you have an opportunity to pivot into great change. So and I think that's what you did too, is that you looked at your life and went, yeah, I'm burnt out, I'm tired, I have this health issue, and now I've been given a second chance. I'm changing everything. It's in my control. That is in our control to look at life and not have it take you down for the day. And it's a choice, right? We can choose to be cranky and angry and let it change your whole day, or we can really put it in perspective and look at what are we really dealing with. And it sounds like that's what you did. And when you say you redesigned your life, what did it look like? What did it sound like?
I simplified it. I downgraded to a one bedroom apartment, which I was thrilled to do. I got rid of all my credit card debt. I got rid of most of my credit cards. I barely use them now. And I decided to, when I became a what they call a life coach, I'm more of a teacher, quote, life coach. The I decided, when you start, and you probably remember this when you started out in this business, what the hell is a life coach? Who do I talk to? Who's making money at this? How do you become a good one? Do you need to go to a school? Do you need to this? And what came to me was that if I share with people and I teach people exactly what I do, which works, as well as sharing with them things that I tried that no longer work,
Right.
because I like being vulnerable with my clients as well,
Yes.
completely authentic, and then I'm living my work. So my coaching and music isn't my job, it's my joy.
Yeah. 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 Oh, I totally get that. I totally get that. I love the way that you serve others through your experience. So the best way to serve someone, and we do, everybody talks in our industry, in the marketing industry, in lingo, they talk about avatars and things like that. Let me just simplify it. I'm going to take the mysticism out and save you thousands of dollars. Not you, Kevin, because you get this, but our listeners, is our avatar is our former self. It's one stage of our former self, and we are serving that former self. And the reason why is because we have that experience to share, and that you share your life experience and you share the tools you found that worked for you with other people. It helps that hurdle. It jumps it to a faster place. It gets them from where they are to where they want to be so much faster, don't you think?
Yeah, yes. I mean, simple is better, and live your life authentically. But everybody comes with a story, a backstory, and I have I guess a talent for hearing those stories and looking into them. I tend to be kind of psychic, so that's why I like doing all my appointments on Zoom. I can look into people a little bit and find out really what the root cause of all this stuff is.
Yeah.
So if you were raised by parents who told you you weren't good enough, you're going to carry that into your adulthood, and you're going to choose people to be around you who support that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
They confirm what you already carry with you. And,
so
and you have to work at shifting that though. And that's where someone like you comes into play.
like if you play a guitar or a dulcimer or a stringed instrument, you have to tune it. You don't just tune it once a day. You have to tune it a couple times a day if you play it a couple times a day, because of changes in the weather and use and stuff like that. We're like musical instruments. So in the mornings, I usually start out playing some Dulcimeditation for a couple minutes, and ask my sort of inner self, what do I need to know? And then throughout the day, I'm always either reading something spiritual or playing music or something, or coaching. So I'm always pretty much in touch with it. But I, I guess I'm like I reframed my life 6 years or 7 years ago, however long it's been. I'm starting to redo it again now.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I'm rewriting my entire website because it doesn't represent the current me.
Yes. I
It's
get
been
that.
a lot of fun to simplify it, and there's lots of new projects and things like that. But and money is a big thing. I thought that becoming rich and famous would make me happy, and it didn't. It was fun, but it didn't make me happy. And money comes and goes. You can lose your money in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Stock markets do all kinds of things. So I don't run my life based on fame or fortune any longer. I run my life based on authenticity and following sort of basic spiritual principles that I believe in that work.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I always had that desire to be that famous person, right? I don't have that desire anymore. I mean, if it comes, it comes, but I don't have that desire because the simplicity of life and serving other people is it's so yummy and it makes me feel good. It fills me up and it helps other people. And I love it when people are getting rid of stress and moving on and getting the results that they're looking for. So that's a great thing. Speaking of helping others get rid of stress, how do you do that? How do you get them to get rid of stress and feel and get rid of that feeling of being stuck and just finding more joy in their life? How do you do that with your clients?
Well, you have to sort of figure out what's making you unhappy. So if you feel stuck, why is that person? Everyone has a different story. That's why I don't coach groups. At one time, everyone has a different story. So if someone comes to me and they say, I just feel stuck, I ask them why. And they say, well, I'm in a blah marriage and I hate my job and my kids are driving me nuts. So when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? So with one of my clients, that's what we did. We looked at, her marriage and what were the good parts? What were the bad parts? Does she really want to walk away from this? Or is she just accepting that people change? I had another client, and this is one of my favorite stories, who was raised a devout Christian. And but she was also raised to believe that she was never good enough,
Hmm.
no matter what she did, which caused a lot of issues for her health and such. So I just simply asked her, did she really believe that Jesus Christ was part of her existence? And she said, oh, absolutely. So I said, well, if Jesus is in you, if that's what you believe, then how imperfect can you possibly be? And her whole face changed, her whole life changed. So it's just a simple thing of looking at yourself honestly and deeply, and here's the important part, kindly.
Yes, we need to be kind to ourselves
Yeah.
and talk
And
kindly to ourselves because, boy, we say terrible things to ourselves, right? I know I used to, and I'm so much more joyful that I don't do that anymore. And I just laugh at myself because I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to do things wrong. And then I just laugh, I'm like, all right.
yeah, I mean, and give yourself credit. I mean, I've never, every single client I've ever, well, maybe there were one or two, but all the clients I've worked with always say to me, oh my God, if it weren't for you, Kevin, I would not have changed. My life would be miserable. And I say, no, 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 no. You changed. I guided you,
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
my instincts. And so, in a way, we have to empower each other for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what you want. You have to know what you want.
Yeah. And we can only know what we want once we understand what we don't want. And it's just a simple concept that people go, huh, when they hear that, if you don't know what you don't want, you don't know what you want. If I've never tried spinach before, I don't know if I like it or not. I don't know if I want that. When I try it, I liked it. So I know I want spinach. It's a good thing. So it stays on the checklist. One of the things that I really want to speak to you when we come back after the break is your Dulcimeditation, and I think that's very interesting. But how long have you been a life coach?
I guess 3, 4 years.
Yeah, nice, 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 and serve so many people and help them their growth. And just a quickly, very, very, ever so briefly, what does that feel like to you every time you really make somebody help somebody through a breakthrough?
Oh, it's like a great energy.
Yeah.
It's better than a standing ovation, really.
So true. I've never heard that connection, but so true. So
That's
true.
that's what I aim for when I give concerts. Is you always want that like standing ovation.
Yeah.
But because my clients that I work with stay with me quite a while, but they become family. So it's and we touch base, and I keep them in line.
Yeah. 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 I always say we become friends. My clients become friends, and then it's time for them to go. So you're listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I'm speaking to the wonderful Kevin Roth, kevinroth.org. If you want to look him up, definitely look him up. And he has a book called Between the Notes. We're going to take a short break and be right back. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Coach Lorianne. And if you'd like to be a guest or lift up your business, product, or not-for-profit, or if you have questions or comments, just email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. That's healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. Now, right back to our guest, Kevin Roth. Kevin, so happy to have you with us. kevinroth.org, and he has a book called Between the Notes, and he also has music all on Spotify, so look him up. It's just beautiful. We were talking about that. Now, you play the dulcimer, but you have Dulcimeditation. Let's talk about that, because as you know, I'm a Kundalini meditative practitioner, and actually, you have a story about Yogi Nada.
Yoga, Yogananda.
Nanda, sorry.
Yeah. Well, so think of a baby. This is about Dulcimeditation. So when a baby's in a crib and it's crying, the parent comes in and they wind up the toy above its head, and the kid stops crying because he's fascinated with the toy, right?
Yeah.
So Dulcimeditation works like that. The dulcimer is very easy to play. I sell them if you're interested at kevinroth.org. It's called a cosmic meditation dulcimer, but you don't need to get one from me. You can get one, a lot of different places. But so Dulcimeditation is you play very, very, very simply, which I teach. I teach on Zoom. And while your mind is occupied listening to the music, you ask your inner voice, what do I need to know? And you always get an answer.
Always.
Like, what am I upset about? You might think it's about shopping or something. But when you really ask what is really going on, what happens is the answer may be, I'm rushing around to get everything done and I need to just slow down. Without you playing the instrument and being involved in a physical activity, your mind will wander. So if you just sit and you listen to my album, Dulcimeditation, your mind listens to the music, but it wanders. Your mind can't do three things. It can walk and chew gum, basically. So give it something to do, which is very beautiful, which is just strum the dulcimer or finger pick it, and then take time out, AKA, all right, the kids are out playing, now I can get my homework done, and ask yourself, what do I need to know? What's going on? So that's what Dulcimeditation is.
Yeah, that's what attracted me to Kundalini, because it has music and it has action. It has, the yoga actions or hand actions. And I was so focused on that, I quieted the little playground in my head down enough to be able to ask the question,
Yeah.
get and receive the answers. So, because years ago when I was 18, and I think I've told the story on the show before, I read a book. I wanted to learn how to meditate. I thought it was so cool. And I read the book and it said, picture a white page. And I did. And I was like, the voices in my head started just going, and all these things I started thinking about. And I was like, I can't do this. And for years, I didn't do it until I learned about Kundalini. And that distracted me enough to be able to focus, to be able to quiet everything down. And it sounds like this does the same thing. I love that you not only teach it online, but also that you sell the instrument and you continue that and educate that and keep that tradition in our society. I love that. What made you decide to sell that as well?
because that's what I do. And so when I got into coaching, that was suggested because I said, well, if I'm going to be a life coach, I got to kind of put down the music. And they said, no, 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 no. What you're doing,
Incorporate it.
incorporate it. And that's when it all kind of came together.
Yeah, yeah, totally understand. As a singer, I love Kundalini too because I get to chant and I get to sing, and it's just beautiful the feedback that I get from that. Um, How, tell us some more about how specifically you help people change their lives for the better. What is your process? If someone wants to work with Kevin Roth, what's your process? What can they anticipate and expect?
So the first couple months, we get to know each other and we begin to draw a roadmap for what you want. So think of building a house. You have to clear the land and you need to get a foundation going before you put up the frame. As we dig down deeper, we discover what matters to you, what you want to get rid of, what you want to change. And I have you really deeply understand why you want that. Because if you don't know why you want to lose weight, you're not going to lose weight. It may be that, well, I just want to look better, but you need to go a little bit deeper with that kind of stuff, because it's like, for instance, losing weight, it's never really about just the food. So, it's a very intimate, personal kind of relationship. And then I begin to introduce spirituality or whatever you believe, which could be Buddhism, could be that me. It sounds like me over there, yeah.
It is you.
And then it's from one of my recordings.
It's called Jake's Lullaby.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty. That's one I wrote. That's on my brand new album. It's also the Lullaby. Yeah. So, we work together and we work on the game plan and how to combine, your life work, your role with your soul, and become the person that you want to be.
Beautiful. Roll with your soul. I love that. Yeah, I mean, so many of us are struggling to find our purpose and to find our place. And we really need to go inside. I say all our success codes are inside, and what sounds like you're doing is helping them tap into that. And a real life coach like yourself is going to do that. You're just guiding. That's what we do as coaches. We're just guiding. We don't tell you what to do. We just give you suggestions. You make decisions. So I love the guidance that you provide. Does balance, emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual, that's all important as part of our journey. So how does that all fit in for you? Because I know that all that is important in not only my journey, but that of my clients.
So that's the mind. I mean, everything is the mind. Right? So if you are feeling out of balance emotionally, mentally, physically, or spiritually, there are things in the book that I tell you to do that help bring you back into clarity and into balance. So the interesting thing about the mind is that there really isn't anything physical called the mind. You look at the brain, you can't find something called the mind. So what is going on in our lives? We're really part of consciousness. And then you need to understand what consciousness is, who you really are, that you're really not this body, this form. And you can watch any near-death experiencers from doctors and psychiatrists that have had them, and they'll explain to you that, as will quantum physics, which is why I teach spirituality and science within my coaching, what's real and what's not real. Because why bother with something that's temporary, that's not going to be around?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's funny because our culture is so opposite of everything that we're talking about.
Yeah, but they're waking up. We're waking up. I have a friend who is just thinks the world is going to hell in a handbasket, and I have a lot of hope because the young people are the ones that are voting, and they don't want climate change. They don't want to deal with the politics that we're looking at on TV now.
Yeah.
They don't want the fires and the storms and the hurricanes in San Diego. They want a different life. And so they're the ones that are going to vote these old geezers out and who are aware of these spiritual things. I mean, I talked to 20-year-olds who were like metaphysicians, you know, it's like, how do you know? You know, so I have great hope. I think it's, you know, it's great.
As
I,
do I. I think a lot of light leaders, you know, and coaches, and we're all coming out of the woodworks for a reason. It's time that we elevate the people around us who are willing and ready to take those steps. I find the same thing, Kevin. I find that the younger generation have a better requirement. I know with my son, he only purchases from companies that have some kind of form of giving back. He only purchases from companies that are environmentally mindful. And I love that. And I was just like, wow, that didn't even dawn on me when I was his age. You know, I was just like doing something totally different. I was singing in the studios at his age, you know. So
yeah.
that didn't even dawn on me. I was like, well, that's not a me problem. And it is, it's all of our responsibilities.
And like I said earlier, we create our story. We create the world we want to be in, and we create our own reality. You know, you mentioned that you love the painting behind me. So for
Oh
those,
my gosh. It's exquisite. Go to kevinroth.org. It's on there. It's exquisite. It has all the colors of my house in it. I love it.
so it's got. I'll tell you a funny story about this. This is an original painting because I sell abstract artwork, and it has some paintbrushes glued onto it, and it's very very colorful. So I had to talk about that everything is a story. I had a client who was all about being rich, all about being rich. And I was trying to tell him that that's not where it's at, and it's the story that he creates for himself. That if he thinks his life is going to be happy because he's made more money and then more money and more money, he's mistaken. So he, like everybody else, loved that painting. I said, well, let me tell you about that painting. I said, there was an abstract artist in La Jolla who was very, very well known and was shown all over the world, and he died. And I knew the person selling the paintings from the estate. He was a good friend of mine. And that painting was up for $500,000, and I was able to buy it for 50. And he said, oh my God, what are you going to do? Are you going to sell it? I said, I'm going to hold on to it because it'll become worth more and more and more and more. And he said, oh my God. I said, isn't it kind of cool though? And he said, oh, he said, yeah, man. You know, I mean, you could really tell this guy was yada, yada, yada. And I said, okay, so that's the story. Now let me tell you the real story. I went to Home Depot and spent $200 and got the paint and the wood, and I did it in about 20 minutes. And his jaw dropped, right? He said, no. I said, yeah. I said, now which story is more convincing to you? And he said, well, he said, when it was by that famous artist for $500,000, you know, it was like more interesting. I said, yeah, but it's a story. That painting didn't cost me more than 150, $200.
Yeah.
So, we believe the stories that we create, you know, and especially here in Southern California, we're really known for like, you know,
Your stories.
and, hey, dude, I live in like almost like a hippie town called Ocean Beach.
Oh,
And
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We'll be out in Temecula soon. So looking forward to going out there.
oh, good.
I love Temecula. It's a really good place for different wines if you like wine. But the picture is exquisite. You're so amazingly talented. You're not only an artist musically, you're an artist with mediums and paints. So that's amazing. But as a life coach, what's your why, Kevin? Like, why did you turn your life and become a life coach?
Well, it was suggested, and then I thought, well, what do I want to do to earn a living, but not sell out and not have to worry and be stressed out? And the only thing I could think of was that the most important thing to me at that time was staying alive. So I was successful doing that, and I thought, well, maybe I can teach other people how to get through their stuff. And that was right before COVID. So then when COVID hit, everybody was stressed out except me. I wasn't stressed out at all. In fact,
I wasn't either.
yeah.
I really
So
wasn't.
my why is that it reconfirms what I believe, and my students are also teachers. You know, they teach me, so I'm living an authentic life. And, fortunately for me, I'm successful, and I'm always changing things up, and that's my why.
Yeah. How is it that you're so sage? You have so many great recommendations and suggestions on how people can really dive into themselves and change their life. Where did that come from?
Well, you mentioned Yogananda. So Yogananda is this guru, and he had a movie on Netflix called Awake, which I happened to watch while I was recovering in Kansas. And to make a long story short, he teaches self-realization. And I just got this gut feeling to look into one of his churches, having no idea, no possible clue that there'd be a Yogananda church within walking distance from my apartment in Kansas. And there was. I mean, unheard of. And through him, I didn't find that he was my spiritual teacher permanently, but I came across two teachers, which is what I also teach. One is Ramana Maharshi. So I teach non-duality, self-realization, and also an author named Robert Wolfe, who passed away last year, who was a good friend of mine and a teacher, and he taught me about a very deep part of non-duality called ajata. So I found that those teachings correlated with science, quantum physics, and made perfect sense. And when I applied the principles, they made my life easy.
Yeah.
That's what I use. If the person is interested in it, I have people who don't want to hear anything about it.
Yeah.
I have people who are in 12-step programs, and I know those very well, and I teach from that perspective. Christians, Jews, Buddhists, whoever you are, whatever you come to me with, even if you're an atheist, I can teach the exact same principles in the way that you need to hear them, because
Yeah.
they're very basic.
Yeah. Yeah. And the simplicity of it just, some people, when I'm working with people, they're just like, it can't be this easy. And I was like, hate to tell you, it is. We just overcomplicate everything. It's just like making a decision. There are only two choices: do it or don't do it, yes or no, forward or backwards. We just kind of code it as the visual I get with all this other junk that is really irrelevant. And I know when I went to law school, I went because I love the way lawyers think, not because I wanted to be a lawyer, but I love the way they think, because they push all the junk aside and they get right to the issue, is really how they're taught to think. And that's what this is about, is just finding the simplicity. And I always just, I bring it back to just find the joy in the day, find the joy and trust your higher power, however you refer to that higher power, and trust, because that God, your higher power source, has your back. And there's a reason why something's being handed to you. And if we could just figure out, like, what am I supposed to learn, and ask ourselves that question, that would be added question to your three questions. And I love the three questions you ask in your book between the notes of what really matters, why does it matter, and what are you going to do about it? I love that you add that. I would ask one more question when you have a challenge: is what am I supposed to learn? And that always helps me get out of my ego and into my observer to go, what is it I'm supposed to learn? And like you, our clients, our students teach us too. So there are very many times that, has this happened to you, Kevin, where you tell something to someone and go, wait a minute, that might be for me? Because that's happened many a time. I'm like, or it's for both of us. That's for me too.
Well, it's funny because in the book there are actually more questions. I think there are 11 essential questions, but uh, questioning is always a good thing.
Agreed. I got in such trouble in church when I was younger for asking the nun too many questions in catechism. I got thrown out. It's the only time I ever got thrown out of school. I got thrown out, and I'll never forget sitting outside the room, shaking in my boots, because I knew I was going to get killed, not actually, by my parents for getting in trouble like that, because both of my parents were teachers. They were both musicians, very, very, church going, religious. I'm spiritual, but I remember sitting there and watching my mom and hearing the clicking of her heels down this long hallway to me. And I was like, I'm dead. I'm just grounded for life. That's it. I'm done. And she went in, she goes, you stay here. And I'm like, but, and she's like, no, We'll talk in a minute. She goes in, seemed like forever. She comes out, she goes, let's go. And I was like, but, and she's like, no. And we got into the car and I'm just sitting there. My heart, I still remember to this day, my heart was pounding and, I got dry mouth, the whole 9 yards. And she turned to me and she goes, so I understand you were asking a lot of questions. And I said, yeah, and I got in trouble for it. And you always said, and she went, stop. You did the right thing. You continue to ask your questions and totally understands what you were doing as long as you were polite. And I said, I really was. And she said, the nun said you were polite, but you were driving her nuts with all the questions, mostly because she didn't have some of the answers. She didn't know how to answer it. She did have the answers, but she didn't know how to answer it. But I'll never forget that day. And my mother was laughing. Years later, she told me she was hysterical that I got in trouble for asking too many questions. And it's important to ask questions, because if you aren't sure, how are you supposed to make an informed decision, right?
It's true.
Yeah. So last thoughts. What would you like our listeners to know?
Well, a lot of my story is in the book Between the Notes, and I wrote that to sort of end that chapter of my life. There's music, there's music, Dulcimeditation on iTunes, and I'm redoing the website. It should be up in a couple weeks, but if you want to talk with me, look at the website, and then there's a form you fill out, and I give a free 30-minute introductory consultation if people want that on Zoom. And then we decide whether we want to work together, and if not, I can guide you to other people, places, and things. And
and all the information for contact will be with this, so just look below, click on it. I'll have all the links for you.
Yeah, so I just, I love what I do, and I do what I love, and just trust that it's all going to work out.
So beautiful. I'm so grateful to have you on, Kevin. You bring so much to me, to our listeners, and to the world. So thank you so much for sticking around in this world and not choosing to go on to another one, and blessing us and gracing us with your knowledge, your sage, your music, your artistry, and everything that you do. Thank you for everything you do. I know I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for our listeners. Thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I hope we earn the privilege of your time. Just check us out next Saturday at 3. We're always around. Until next time, I am Coach Lorianne. Play a higher role, serve a higher purpose, show up for you, and show up big. Thank you again, Kevin.